Who won the game? You were the fans.
They lost, they were in the 12th innings game on the night before, and they had to play the last, or get that game over with, and so Louisville won 3-2. And then, the Sounds came back and won 10-3 in the second game. There's Miss Jennifer, she's here. Only have enough rooms I thought.
Okay. Where's your orange?
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yes, I know. I just wanted to. Thank you. Sorry. Thanks.
How was your trip? Good?
Good, he's good.
You gonna fit in okay?
Oh, what do you mean? Well, just come by. Everybody go, yeah. I get something, I get something. Okay. Glad I didn't, but I didn't. No, it's there. But watch, hold on.
Oh, now you're here.
Okay, sounds good.
Good afternoon to everyone. This is the Mayor and City Council Budget Review Work Session. It is about 2 minutes after 12 on June the 7th, 2024. And I want to call this meeting to order. And the first order of business is public comments. Do we have any, Lisa?
No, sir, we do not.
All right. The first thing is a brief overview of the proposed budget notebook, layout, and general notes. You want to get us started on that? Have everybody had a chance to look at your little packet there?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Scott.
We would just like to follow the process throughout the budget, process but I did want to make a comment on how well everybody has worked so hard and so strongly together as a team. And of course, our city treasurer compiles all that information, and I think you all will enjoy this new format of going through the budget. So we encourage you to ask any and all questions you may have, and let's get a good budget going for you all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the all funds summary, estimated fund balances and cash balances. Do you want to briefly go over that, Kay, please?
I can. Did you want me to talk about any of the, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, I don't hear myself. The brief overview, I was gonna go back to number 1 real quick, if that's okay. That's the first pages that has the highlights on it. It just kind of tells how the notebook's laid out. It does talk about the fund balance, and I know people wonder sometimes, why do we talk about that so much? But we have a fund balance policy, so I have to calculate each year how much that is. The policy says we need a minimum of 20%. That's what we shoot for. This particular budget at this time, which obviously is just the first draft, we actually have a 37.5% fund balance, so we very much exceed that. And let me just back up. Like I said, this is just a first draft. Y'all can add, change, delete, whatever you want to do. We just had to get something on paper so we see where we are, and then we can move from there. Under general fund revenues, just want to mention, we put the property tax rate in, same as this year, $1.48. That's just a starting point. You can change that too. Now that same tax rate is going to generate approximately $370,000 more dollars. this year, next year than this year because, of the assessment went up. Our sales tax is down a little bit, the local option, and the state sales tax is up a little bit. Let's see, what else?
And that was probably because of the 2 or 3 month break that the state gave on sales tax? Is that probably the reason for that?
It could be, I'm just not sure exactly, but it could be.
Well, okay,
Could be.
right.
As it says here on page 2 of the highlighted pages, the nonprofit requests are in the back. That's those 3 that we did not phase out. They're in the back. 2 of the 3 are requesting increases. And then capital projects is in the back of the notebook, as well as different percentages of possible employee raises. So that's kind of a summary of that. Do y'all have any questions on that particular part? Okay. Do you want me to go ahead to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Just move
So the
forward.
next
Karen.
tab is all.
Anybody has any questions or anything, or needs to stop at any point, please let council members, please let Kay know.
And let me say this, I should have said this to start with, but I'm jumping around. Y'all each had one of these at your place.
Right.
That's because some of the numbers in the big book have changed slightly since May 15th.
Right.
We got some answers on some grants we'd applied for. Some things we thought we were gonna pay for this year, we're rolling to next year. There were some minor adjustments. One thing I had misunderstood, so I had to correct it. So, these are the updated pages that will need to be swapped out, but I'm sure there'll be other changes too. But I just wanted y'all to have the most, current numbers. Okay. So the section that says all fund summary, there's 2, the first page in that section is estimated fund balances. As you see at the far right, that's what we're estimating to have at the end of next year. In all those funds, altogether about 16.6 million. One thing I'll draw your attention to, of course, as you saw, the general funds, in the general fund, we're gonna have about 12 million. That includes the cable TV fund and the budget, I just forgot the name. Thank you, Scott. The budget reserve fund. But if you come on down to state road projects, we're gonna have 2 million in that, and that means we have some money on hand to help pay for the overlook, help pay for Fairfield and those type of things. So we're not gonna be starting at 0. We're gonna have 2 million set aside towards some of those projects. That's the fund balances. Next page is actual cash. It's a little bit different because it's a little different than fund balance, but it's pretty close to the same. Okay, the next section is general fund summary. This is just kind of a 2-page summary, as it's called. It incorporates all the different departments within the general fund. You see the different debt administration, codes, planning. Kind of just puts the numbers in there so you can see how we end up overall with revenues, expenditures, transfers out or at the bottom. Page 2 shows our fund balances. Our updated number for fund balance is a decrease of 8.5 million. I know that sounds a little scary, but if you come on down there in green, 6.3 million of it are for capital items that the council has already approved. So we're just shifting it to the funds where we can pay for the items and projects. And the combined fund balance is still 12.4 after that. Scott?
And I just want to point out that having the money to be able to transfer around like this is a reflection of this mayor and city council policies for a conservative budget. Because we are able to put money back as we go, and then when a big project does come due, it don't hit us as hard.
Yes.
Is this including the pumps?
Part of that, yes. We are budgeting about 3 million for the pumps for next year. We still don't know what the installation will cost, but as far as that 8.5, 3 million of that is for pumps.
Right.
1.83 are the pumps, and I also budgeted about 1.225 for installation. I don't think we'll get to that next year, but I've got it in there in case we need it. And then the next year we'll finish the installation cost, but we don't know those until we bid it.
Any other questions? Okay.
And the next section, general fund revenues, this is just item by item. As you'll see, it's the $1.48 tax rate that's in there that generates about 8.5 million. That's calculated. We typically don't have a 5% delinquency, but this is a conservative way of assuming you might have 5% paid. We have a new revenue down toward the bottom of the page, transportation modernization. That's a new, that's new money we're getting from the state in the last 2 or 3 months. I guess it's through TDOT. I don't know a whole lot about it, to tell you the truth, but that is a new one. And this has our grants, taxes, fees, building permits, and all those type things in it. So that's just an itemization of revenues if y'all want to look at that. Any question about revenues?
Just a quick comment, again, on the revenues. These are conservative estimates, just in case there is a downtime or anything unexpected was to happen. We did have a little bit of cushion, but fortunately for the past few years, the revenue actual receipts are normally higher than several of the projections.
Absolutely. I would estimate we'd get at least $1 million more than we're estimating, but you know, I'm not a gambler, so. The next section is debt administration. This just shows our principal and interest payments that'll come due this next year. At the bottom, it shows our outstanding debt. As of 6/30 of this year, we have $752,000 in principal outstanding.
Okay.
Then I was gonna ask the council, does it suit y'all to just go department by department like on this list? And if it is okay, we'll just say a few things about it, then they'll have their personnel and or capital, and y'all can just keep going forward through the book. Is that okay with y'all?
I would like to do that. Yeah.
Okay,
With the rest of it, yeah.
so the first one is codes, and it's behind the codes tab, obviously. I don't know that I have anything unusual to say about that from my standpoint. So I'll roll it over to Brian, or if y'all have specific questions. I will say his capital request is a truck. That's on page 2 there.
Right. And we added, what, 1 new employee this year?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then we lost one that transferred to rec center. So that was an employee.
No,
We
sir. That employee
replaced him and then we added another, correct? Everybody clear with that?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not clear.
The employee you're referring to that went to the rec center was quite a few months ago. The employee that replaced him has recently left.
Right.
So I do have a vacancy right now.
And what
But
is
you
that
have a new
job?
position,
I'm sorry?
but you have a new position.
I do have a new position that is currently filled.
And is it a code that's open?
This is a code inspector, yes. It's open.
How many do you have, codes inspector?
Right now, one. I have one code inspector, one property maintenance inspector.
You have 2 positions.
That's correct.
Brad and McFadden, those two.
Yes, sir.
Ben, is that the other fellow that we lost? That was a plumbing inspector?
Right.
Do we not need another property maintenance inspector?
I'd like to have several, but that's entirely up to y'all. My code inspectors do both jobs. They do building inspections and they do property maintenance.
Is this truck for one of those, or is this replacing an old truck?
This is a replacement old truck. Both the trucks I have right now are roughly 20 years old. The gas mileage on them is so poor that replacing it with a new vehicle actually saved me some money.
Okay. It's 20 years old.
One's 17, the other's 19, I believe.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's the reason that Ford Maverick chose. And you got one new truck this year, right? In
Last year,
Brad? Yeah.
yes, sir.
Any other questions as we go through? Please be open and don't anybody think that we're picking on your department or anything. We're just trying to find out what's going on and get information. So,
To be quite honest about it, the only reason for the increase is to cover the payroll, salary, and the vehicle.
right.
If it wasn't for that, then we'd actually be coming in with a lower budget because the IT-related items been transferred to Cade.
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
You have one Maverick now.
Yes,
So are you happy with it? Does it work well?
Gas mileage is great on it, provides the use we need.
I noticed that we did get a report, probably this week or maybe last week on the property maintenance, and all of the locations around the city are listed. But at some point in the report, it does not give any updates as to follow-ups or court action, or the next step, or signed off. And that, I don't know if that's because we're lacking a property maintenance person to juggle that and get some more information or something more solid. That report was, it just wasn't complete. So that's something I would like to remedy.
I thought the report did show exactly the status on it. A whole bunch of them were resolved. Gotta look to the right in the columns.
Right. If you should go back.
There were some that were TV court cases.
That report's sent every other week. You'll be getting one
There was a
sent
stack of
today.
property addresses with nothing in the columns, or maybe it just didn't come on right now.
I can resend
I
it.
saw the same thing. I mean, there was a number that had been taken care of, but then there was a number
There's a
that
stack
had,
that
had,
had nothing
had been
on the
according to that
columns.
list that we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with Brad and David at the city court the other day when we was going over some of those things at the city court, yeah.
But my point is, we're trying to get really aggressive with cleaning of the city. And if it takes more manpower, I'm certainly for that. But I just want something to remedy this. That's all I'm saying.
But we all kind of feel that way, and
Sure.
we make it smooth in that right direction, it looks like. How do you feel about it?
I can
Moving in
go
the right
back.
direction?
I think we're moving in the right direction, but I can go back and remodel this budget to reflect an additional employee. That will also require an additional vehicle because, like I said, the two I've got, I don't know how much life they have left.
That's right. But Mr. Adcock's only been with us how long?
Roughly 3 months.
So let's give it some time before we do that. Is that all right? Or do we need to?
Sorry.
Good.
Good. Any other comments? Okay. Okay.
I can hear myself now. Planning, one thing I will mention is that item 127, professional services. That includes our payments to Griggs and Maloney. Also, Kevin would start coming out of there. That's gonna help us. And also, there was a, traffic study guidelines or something that, they got quotes on, and that's in there at about 25,000. So that's what the professional services line is. Formerly, computer software had money in there for SmartGov, the online platform. That has been moved to Kate's budget now, so that's why that's no longer on that line.
Okay.
But as far as I can't discuss actual planning stuff. That would be
And,
Um,
would it be worthwhile to mention also the corridor study is in this year's budget?
Yes, the corridor study is in, I put it in Fund 303 Special Road Projects. It ended up, the grant was 119,000, our 10% is 11,912,
Yes.
and I'm gonna be writing that check by the end of the month. And the contract is between the state and the vendor, so we will not have to pay anything else. We write that one check and then they handle that between themselves.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
How much did you say our share was?
11,912. And I've got it budgeted back in the state road
But
project.
is it in this budget or our
This
current
budget.
budget?
It's our current budget.
Current
But I've got it estimated in our this year column as being spent.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be in, FY 25.
But we've got plenty of money there, so we're just gonna go ahead and pay it.
And the other item on the traffic study, that is actually, if you recall from all the fund planning meetings and city council meetings on annexations, rezoning, our traffic, our guidelines for our traffic study is, needs improvement. And so that's what that, capital request is for.
Okay. All right, in your budget, we just had an increase in cost for planning, for developers and things like that, is that correct, Tom?
Fees.
Yes, we also had an increase in fees.
Yeah.
That took place, started in, the June cycle.
Okay,
So that would have been, because it was, adopted by resolution in May.
is it more break even than it is increased revenue?
It'll definitely increase revenue. I mean, when we look at the previous year, you can see the differences that it impacted, so.
Question for Thomas? All right, Kay, I guess we can move on.
Well, what,
Okay,
Wait a minute,
really got, I haven't, what he's asking for here, have we?
sir,
Asking for.
You're asking for a help desk tech.
Thought that's the start.
that's Kate, that's
Oh, that's Kate.
Kate. That's information
Oh, I'm
technology.
sorry, I'm sorry.
But let's give Tom a hard time for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Sorry,
could always
Tom.
use, I could use that help.
Sorry, Tom.
Okay, so.
Good job, Tom.
Next.
You didn't ask for anything. Good.
Thank you very much.
one other question, Tom, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Kevin's, when we use him, we kind of got an estimate on how much that's gonna cost us to Kevin Chastain?
I don't, I've been trying to, keep his involvement, I'm a little bit of a penny pincher, so I don't like to, task him with a lot of things
Okay.
unless there's a critical item or, I'm trying to think of, or if he was involved in something in the past, like, we have the Board of Zoning Appeals application. And, so I'm having him do the secondary review on it, but he's not doing the full workup on these, I'm taking care of those.
Good, thank you, sir, I appreciate that. Anyone else?
Tom, are you feeling comfortable? Are you getting more relaxed with this position?
I've done this before, so it's nothing new for me. I've done it in the past, I would say, and it was a similar type of situation too, so. And in my previous life, but it was a lot more stressful, so.
Let's see if we can help you with that straight.
Yes.
Well, that's some of ours to you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kay, please.
Next section is information technology, IT. This is a newly formed department. In the past, we've paid IT personnel in the other general government category, just kind of lumped in with city hall people and appointed people and so forth. And we had a lot of our, citywide software type items in the 41,990 general government. But this year, it was decided to pull it out and let it be, separate. So that's why it only has one column with numbers in it. And when I was talking about citywide items, that's down there in 312 computer software at 99,000.
Right.
Kate and I talked, and, citywide that all departments use, we're putting in his budget.
Okay.
If there's software particular to fire department, nobody else needs it, it's still in the fire department budget. So we kept, department-specific items in those departments. Generic citywide, we put in Kate's, IT budget, so.
Is that an increase or decrease by adding it together like that or looking toward the future? Do you know, Kate, is that gonna be?
It should be the exact same number as it would have been split. We're just consolidating it for administrative purposes.
All right. Okay. All right.
Are you keeping the expense of the locations for internet access and that kind of thing then at each?
Those are still departmental because they are tied specifically to that building or department.
Good question.
What's 121 cover?
That is his, do you have it?
That's the help desk technician to add to the staff to help with the ongoing growth and changes to the tech systems.
This is a full-time position at 56 grand.
That's the top. Somebody comes in with excellent qualifications and certifications, we have to be able to meet, some level of expectation for the standard.
For a desk clerk?
It's not a desk clerk. This
What
would
it
be
says right here.
desktop support technician. It's a generic term that would cover anybody who's going to go out, replace equipment, fix printers, install software, help users with training. It's more than just any one word would technically cover, but it is a full-time position. We are actually 3 people understaffed by the raw numbers of it. I've actually got, I have one phone. So the industry standard is if you have a very optimized system with standardized equipment, software, OSs, all that, you can get away with 70 employees per 1 support technician. We are not currently standardized. We're split. We have different OSs, different hardware requirements. I am working as we replace stuff to get us all on the same page, but that takes time, as you may know. And under that regime, you're supposed to have 1 technician per 45 employees because of just the wide range of different issues that can crop up with different systems. We currently have 1 person for 250 employees, and our direct competitor, the county, who has 250 employees and the same number of devices, has 4 IT staff full-time.
That 56,000 number, I presume.
Would be absolutely.
Benefits and everything involved in that. Because on the previous page, you've got it at 46.
So roughly, Kate, we don't have from 23, 24, we don't have the amount spent. Of course, it would be Kate's salary and maybe any of this equipment we've added to these rooms and things like that. Would that come out of his budget, these monitors and all those kind of things like that?
This was a special project.
Okay.
So we had to make allowances. I believe we wound up putting it under the construction fund that already existed for the chamber project.
Okay.
But yeah, no, all this was added after the fact, so it was an addition to the already established budget.
Okay.
This would be the same now. If we did something that was well outside the normal plan scope, we would come back and say, hey, this is what we're needing to do. We need X amount.
So for your department last year, you got a rough idea, was it $150,000 probably, or 140?
Well, last year.
But we're asking it for 325 for this next.
So I used the money from each individual department to support their department. That's how I did purchasing. So the number that's in there reflects not only the continued support of them, but our continued growth with centralized infrastructure. There is, of course, money in there that is fail-safe. If a server dies, we need to be able to replace it. So there is money in the budget that is set aside for replacing that. So it's not all expected to be spent. Some of it is there for a switch dies, a server dies, something critical dies, we're good to go.
Okay. And the $106,000 for the new truck and all those kind of things, is that included in that 125 or 325,000?
No, the only employee was the only thing included in the original budget.
Yeah. So that would add, that'd be 430, and then we've got, what else have we got? 65,000 for field support and power mods or something like that. Is that the same truck? Is that just additional equipment on it or
So
something?
the capital request for that truck is predicated on not only additional staff needing vehicles, but it was also there to support field operations, as Scott can attest. More and more things require me to not just be in an office building, but on the side of the road, helping and stuff. And that truck would be for additional personnel. It would support the drone operations. If we approve that, we need something that, can be transported. It would be set up to be available to all the emergency personnel 24/7 so that they can use it for their needs. It was designed to be a little bit of a catch-all, sort of a half command center for emergency personnel use, as well as just daily for IT in the city in general. So it comes from the police purchase line. It's the base model of that truck, and it has the additional power generation, bigger alternators, things like that, that'll support all of the radio equipment, lights, anything, charging equipment, mobile data connection, all that good stuff. That would just enable us to be able to provide service anywhere in the city.
So Kenny, what is your current vehicle you're driving?
I am currently using the general use Tahoe assigned to the city hall. They've been letting me use it.
So is there a possibility to equip this, your vehicle with the bells and whistles that you're asking for?
Limited, because the size of the engine and the compartment of the vehicle and stuff just do not. And I've already been talked to Public Works about it. There's only so much they can do with the space and engine power available because 2001 inverters draws a lot of power that a standard alternator will not produce. And that vehicle is just a standard Tahoe, where, like I said, the truck on this comes from the police line. They're already souped up. They have extra alternators, bigger alternators to support that stuff because they used to design police equipment with all the radios and lights and stuff. So yes, we can squeeze a little bit out of the current Tahoe, but not to the same degree.
Yes, go ahead. Okay.
Scott's trying to.
Scott, yes, sir.
Mayor, City Council, my apologies. We should have made this very clear at the onset of the meeting, and I neglected to do so. When we get to the capital requests, if it's highlighted in yellow,
Right.
that's what finance and administration is recommending. If it's not highlighted, we're asking council to kind of wait and see, or it's all of this, of course, is your all's decision.
Right.
But this one, we thought maybe we'd tweak it down the road, because as we get to the police capital budget, they may have some, if y'all approve some additional vehicles for them, maybe we can take one that they're taking out of service and push up here. We're still working on things like that, but it's not detailed until y'all give us guidance.
I just don't.
No offense, Captain.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So what type of a demand? What prompts you to ask for this particular vehicle equipped this way? What has the city of Shelbyville?
So it's one of those, it's one of those domino things. If the city decides it doesn't want a drone, we don't need the vehicle. Because that's kind of the big thing that extra pushes that in there. The drone would be available for emergency personnel for manhunt, search and rescue, fire site surveys, as well as during the day, normal operations. It would allow for Public Works to do road inspections, stormwater to do grading permit inspections. It's one of those, and there's a multitude of things it would permit us to have. So if we had it, then we just need the support equipment to make that work. If you're sitting on the side of the road, nowhere near a building, and the battery's charging on the drone, or the controller needs charging, or you need internet to stream something, the truck would be able to support all of that. So if we don't have any of that, then we don't need the truck. It's one of those, if we get this and this, then we need this kind of situation. So.
And also, Councilwoman, one of the things on the drone that me and Kay really debated about, it can do everything that Kay just mentioned in emergency response, but it can also go inside the flume and actually map out the flume, and that's about all I know about that, so I'll throw it back to Kay.
So I have, this year on the budget is $21,000 for a third party to come in and do the flume once. And that's up from 18,000 was it last year, Buck? So it's going up every year to pay somebody else to do it once. Whereas if we were to go ahead and put forth the investiture now and get our own, it pays for itself within a couple of years just from not paying third parties. Plus now we have all the other options it provides the city to use, as well as curbs the fact that we're going to pay probably 24, 25 next year for the company to come out and do it once. If we have the equipment, we can do it quarterly. Every time someone does major construction or road work near a sensitive area like the flood, we can inspect it then. So it's one of those, I talk to the departments, I work with them, see what they do, what services they contract out, and see if we have an opportunity to do it for ourselves and it makes economic sense. To me, something that we're gonna pay over $20,000 for, and we could buy that, within 2 years of that amount of money ourselves and then just have it. Plus then it opens up a multitude of other use cases. Makes sense to me to at least put forward as an option instead of continuing to hand out money.
We already paid that before, that someone that walked on.
We haven't done it this year.
Not this year because of the wet conditions.
Well, I know
Nobody can get
for
down.
years our public works man walked clean every year. There was no expense to it.
I can't speak to what happened in the past, so.
And we're already 10 years past when they say that Blender's good for, so I don't know why we really are spending the money anyway when we're on something that's at least 10 years past its, service date?
Life expectancy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that thing will be,
I mean, it's just a crapshoot as to when that thing is gonna, which is one reason I like to keep a healthy reserve on hand, because unfortunately, it's not when, it's just when.
you mentioned several things that we're not, we have a police department, we have the fire, we have those entities in place that do their jobs. We don't do crime scenes and flying in with drones and that type of thing. Sure, it has its purposes. I love drones. That's my thing. But here's my thing about all of this here. In this one room, I certainly, in my head, put together how this meeting, all of our public meetings, should actually look. That one camera stabilized, I'd much rather put a few dollars into a couple of cameras. Those cameras on the Let's Talk Shelbyville stage, they could be utilized. You could pay almost nothing for a switcher to have multiple cameras in this one room where our viewers can see our mayor and staff closely and council and that type of thing. I'm not saying zoom in, that's a lot of work, but pushing a button for 4 cameras makes much more sense to give our citizens a better view of what's going on with their meeting.
Well, the system in this room was an afterthought add-on. I was instructed to add it in towards the end of the construction here. Again, it was not part of the original budget, so we made do with what we could put together in a week. So any additional changes would have to be planned for. There is money in the cable TV fund that we could use for that kind of thing, but it's one of those, someone has to come to me and say, we got to do this, and then I got to put together the money. It hasn't come up or hasn't been brought to me.
Now, the cable TV fund, that purchased this here on the stage, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How long have you been here?
Just over a year now.
But I would rather look at something like that. The meetings need to be a lot more clear broadcast. And that's, like I said, those cameras sitting up there can be utilized. It's all in a matter of tying it all together in a switcher with your system back there, and that would make a big difference.
I got a question. What was the IT budget before we got set? Or do we even have one? Because when I hired this,
We didn't have a separate,
that one lady.
we didn't have a separate department. We had an IT director, Lori, that was part of her job, and then we had Teresa, I'm not sure what we called her, but she didn't have a separate budget like this.
Oh, okay.
But the job responsibilities were basically the same?
No. Not even close. Matter of fact, what we're seeking is this desktop technician is more in line with what was done previously. By having the position we have now, with the qualifications and experience we have now, just one example, and there are several others that our director can give you, but one example, we were on the brink of losing our insurance on exposure to the different things that can happen. Cybersecurity, thank you. Seems like it too. But cybersecurity, TMLP partners, they notified us. They said, we cannot insure you unless you start implementing safeguards. So fortunately, between Lisa K, and everybody working together, we were able to put a plan in where PE partners came back and said, okay, you all made the correct steps, let's keep working, and we're going to insure you. But if we had ignored it, we would have been in serious trouble if we'd had a cybersecurity threat. And I'm sorry, that's not some of the flashy stuff that we talk about a lot because it's under the radar and day-to-day operations, but we are in good shape now.
When I started, we had no firewalls. Antivirus was hit or miss in some devices. The networks were not secured. They had consumer grade devices. The airport was held together with 3 Google Homes. So we have made great strides in the, as he said, not flashy side of things, but in getting the infrastructure and everything up to normal standards. We still got ways to go. We've only done about half of the city buildings. It's just time and money. You only do so much at one go. There's only one of me. So it's, we are moving, like I said, in the right direction. We have made changes. We have more changes coming down the pipe. We are moving toward where we need to be.
So there's enough work to keep a full-time help desk tech busy. You're sitting up there in that basement watching TV.
So
on the computer.
part of things I implemented was a ticket system a few months after I got here. One of the things is just to make sure that I don't miss anything, you know. And you send me an email, you call me, you grab me when I'm walking by. I may forget, I may be too busy to do it right that second. So we had a ticket system put in. You send an email, it makes a ticket, and I make sure that I'm accountable. It keeps track of the issues we have, where they're at, what devices are having the most issues, so we can kind of look at replacing or fixing whatever the issue is so it doesn't recur. And in less than a year, we've had over 700 tickets make it into the system. We still don't have 100% adoption. Not everything makes it into a ticket. If I go somewhere to work on something, they're like, oh, hey, while you're here, that never makes it into a ticket. So that 700 only accounts for about 40% of what really should have been in there. And that's on top of me still having to go to staff meetings, come to council meetings, whatever other stuff that drags me away from not working on tech projects or putting out equipment or fixing things that break. So yes, I would say that if we had a full-time help desk technician whose primary focus would be swapping equipment, fixing things when they break, that kind of stuff, I would still handle all of the administrative, network server security stuff, the more critical, heavily experienced side of things, and they would be left to handle the more run-of-the-mill routine stuff.
Any questions?
I got a comment or something, because I kind of live in this space, in this IT world, in the finance world. If you don't have a good, solid IT department backing the government, especially, or a finance office, even my little office, you can get hit by these cyber attacks real quick. Kate and I had that discussion when he first came on, and thank God we got him, because he is so qualified for what he is doing. I appreciate the ticket system and everything you've done. I'm sorry, actually, that he got pulled aside to fix up a camera system. That is way out of his wheelhouse. He shouldn't have to do that in IT world. We look at it as consumers, that everything's IT. You know, my mouse click, my phone, that's all IT. But drones, the police, where they want to use it, where Public Works want to use it, that's not IT. Unfortunately, he gets stuck with having to implement some of it on their behalf. But if you don't have a strong IT department, it's doing other things like drones or whatever, you get hit with a cyber attack, they can hit us for millions of dollars overnight. It can happen in the next 5 minutes if he doesn't have our firewalls and the router system in place. And he has to do that a lot of times at night, on weekends, when none of us our employees are using it. He has to come in and do that kind of thing. So I live in that space. I have to do that too myself. And he has to be able to remote in to fix a lot of these things. He can't travel constantly to all the departments we have. He has to be able to remote in. So that takes a lot of time, and I'm sure he's doing it at home. I haven't asked him that question, but I bet my lunch money he spends most evenings and nights and early mornings helping something inside the city remoting in.
Oh, yeah. You can ask Kay. How many times have I said, hey, can I get you off for a minute? Because she too is often here late at night with me, and I'm just like, I really need to restart something right quick. Can I bump it up for a second?
A lot of times we hear or see where an errant email is coming in and Google has knocked us off or whatever. And Kate is responsible for getting us back on. That is not his fault that somebody clicked on a link out here and got a virus on their computer at home or wherever. So he gets to be the whipping boy sometimes when it comes down to the bad things. But the responsibility he has is right there up there with the CEOs. Most of the companies you see now, IT reports to the CEO. They quit this game of going through purchasing and that kind of thing, like a lot of companies did it because it was just looked at as an expense. And now that we're looking at the expense, we're seeing that all these other software things that are creeping into his budget that are really going to other departments, like $99,000 for the computer software. That's not because of him, that's because it's required within the city departments. He's responsible for maintaining it. So thank you for your job that you've been doing. I know it's a new position for the city, but it's something we've really got to address, because the minute we get hit with a $2 million ransom, y'all all be pointing the finger at him why we didn't do that. And he can sit there and say, well, I was fixing somebody's printer. I was chasing down somebody's computer that they couldn't get this app on or whatever. That's why the help desk person needs to do that sort of thing so he can make sure we're secure. Sorry for the rant, but you're doing a great job.
And also, one of the things I do is look at old stuff that we might could modernize that would be more cost effective to run. As I've done with a few things here, at the airport, there was an old POTS line. I mean, we're talking 1950s copper phone line to the weather station there. It was costing us about $1,250 a month, and they recently raised it to $1,500 a month. We were able to, through a third-party vendor, get a device that let us convert it off a cell phone signal instead of paying for a hard line. That saved $17,000 a year just by doing that. So there's things like that I don't just spend money. I try to save us money too whenever I can.
Well, I would like to see, it would be ideal for the city to have, and I think one of the departments is asking for, an phone line system or whatever. I would like to see the entire city pretty universal and straight across the board for the same type of system. I noticed that the cemetery, I think you maybe.
That would be the same phone system the police department is attempting to get. The budget I submitted has the cost in there for buying phones for every department in the city. We would, if the budget approved as I submitted, we would go to that new system this coming year across the board.
So does that mean that if every department, if they ask for a system, every department would ask for a $20,000 system?
No, ma'am. The police department is just expensive by sheer volume. They have over 30 phones in that building just by that alone. And that's why it broke so high. Plus, their building is old, the wiring is incorrect. Every other building in the city would require little infrastructure changes. They would just require the phones themselves. But the police department, we have to, for security reasons, legal reasons, we can't just piggyback off what is in place. And not to mention a lot of the wiring is very outdated. Because that building is one of the oldest ones and still in operation. But that's why that one got to 20,000. I would also point out that 20,000 is exceedingly cheap compared to most vendors where we've quoted would have been $80,000 for a similar phone system. We're saving so much because we are doing it ourselves.
So you're saying a $20,000 installation on an old building? How does that work? Does that require
We would have,
wiring?
yes, we would be
hours?
requiring.
Yeah.
That you would get the handset phones themselves, the new wires that connect back to the switch infrastructure, and the firewall that handles the communication back to City Hall, where the controller for the phone system is. And as I have done the math on, switching out that phone system would save us thousands of dollars a month. Because currently, the police department has 12 hard phone lines that cost $50 a piece per month. The new system does not use hard lines, it uses digital or an internet connection, and it costs $10 a month for one, and it can run on site. So the system would pay for itself within the first year of cost savings on service alone.
Good questions by everyone and input, as far as information, things like that. Of course, we're not approving anything today. We're just looking over and going through it, seeing what is needed. And we do have wants. We all do. I'd like to have a new city hall. But we'll just have to kind of deal with needs and not wants. Thank you, Kate. Anybody else have a question for Kate? Go ahead, Scott.
Mayor, for clarification, as we're going through this process, so Hay and I will know what to present next week or in any future meetings. Is by rule of thumb, somewhat, is the council okay with mine and Kate's recommendation at this time to leave the truck and the drone off at this time, but move forward in our planning for the help desk take?
I like the help desk type, definitely. The drone, I would be going out and seeing if there's somebody out there that might give us a grant for a drone. But spend some energy on that. And truck, that's probably more of a safety department question, Nathan. And IT, because he obviously can operate out of any truck. It doesn't have to be this kind of truck.
Well, I noticed that you said you had 700 and something tickets. Is that average on a monthly basis or
That's in the last 10 months.
in the last 10 months?
There's about 60 to 100 on the average in a month. And like I said, that's only about 40% of what should be in there. So if you assume it's probably more like 150 to 180, if we actually got everything that needed to be in the system. So
Is it too much to ask to maybe shoot the council a copy of those tickets on a monthly basis at least?
I can send you a copy of the next one.
I'd like to see some of the issues in the city and each department.
Yeah. Yeah.
Henry, you're on your earlier question about the 40-something and 50-something salary. The range was 22 to 27. The 27 was the 50-something, and the 22 was the 40-something.
Oh, okay.
Because there are benefits on down in there. So it wasn't because of benefits.
The drone truck, would that be, would you cross-train someone from the police department as well as the fire
Correct.
department?
I'm not going to go to a fire scene. I'm not going to go to a.
So the truck would be sitting somewhere where it's ready
Accessible,
for all
they have,
departments?
yes. And we already have a training program that's established in Underwood.
Okay.
Every department has volunteered people who were interested to be trained and cleared to operate on the city's behalf.
To fly the drone or what?
Yes, ma'am.
We have certified drone flyers?
We have a training program.
I'm certified in drones.
And if I may add, Kay did make the comment that he would be necessarily on the scene or anything. As the mayor, others can attest, he looked good working for Public Works that day. Setting up saw horses and everything else.
Yeah. Matt, you got something to say? You had your hand up?
Yes, sir, just cause it's kind of a gray area between me and Buck,
Uh-huh.
but talking about the flooding, we talked about how we used to do walkthroughs, versus now we do LiDAR. And we still do walkthroughs. But what that does with that LiDAR scan is it measures it down to the millimeter. It lets us know where our problems are and where we have movement. I know if y'all remember when we were talking about working on the flood pumps and that initial, getting them mounted and then trying to use some of that ARP money to fix that stretch of flume that was worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we know it's worse, is because it compares it to the last scan and the scan before that. It lets us know where we need to focus our effort collectively as a city, because we hope and pray, yes, sir, we are 10 years past or however long past the life of that flume. But what we're hoping to do is to be able to, when we have to go in and do modifications to the flume to support and get more life out of it, to do that where it's needed most as money's available. So hopefully we can be proactive instead of waiting till before when the street caves in or the building falls in and then we have to do something. So it's a very good budgeting tool for those big types of money that, and will give us a chance to plan and take kids to do that for it. So that is the reason for the LiDAR. So it's in nobody's real budget. You know, it's kind of a city thing, but it is, we all know how critical it can be really fast.
We'll be able to use the LiDAR on our own drone? Is that?
Yes, sir. That, the drone that he was trying to get, that was with that equipment.
Here's some examples of the drone in question using LiDAR for different applications. You've got forestry, land management, terrain mapping is the same deal. You just have a 360-degree LiDAR thing, you fly it down the drone, and in the same way it can map the ground there, it can map the whole tunnel, and then, like he said, it's down to the centimeter level that it can take variations.
Within more than pays for itself within 2 years. Easy.
And I'll be honest with y'all, I know Buck will probably back me up on this. Every time we have a major water event, I feel better. We usually will go walk it if we've had a major water event. But it would be great every time we had a major water event to go back and immediately be able to assess its movement and whether that movement or deformation is at in the flood. So, yeah, we could possibly, some years we could use it 5 or 6 times.
Could we get insurance on this bad boy, $41,000?
Oh, yes, sir.
I
Yes.
hate to be the man to put it in there, all these people on train, and old Bobby uses it once a year. Yeah.
I would point out that LiDAR equipped models with the right software package can fly themselves. So we can send it down the flume and it knows the walls are there based on the laser returns and can fly itself down, so we don't even have to.
We'll have insurance.
Somebody's gonna put it there, and that's a man that's gonna catch it when it goes.
That will be.
It ain't gonna be.
Never the case, yes.
You know, I can see now that we've got into this where that would have been invaluable. We had the protesters in our city a few years ago that the police were gonna use for multiple.
Water recoveries, you know, it's just manhunt.
It's just thrown out in cage, by being put on just here, it made it at first very not, that I wasn't very receptive to it, but I've kind of changed my mind.
It's hard to split it across 6 or 7 departments.
So it had to fall somewhere.
And as it has been said before, if it looks like it touched a piece of technology, everybody kind of usually looks at me. So,
Conservative as I am, I'm not opposed to putting that in the budget.
Anyone else?
What was that? You're not opposed to putting it in the budget?
I'm not.
The drone
And the truck.
in the truck.
We have to have both to do.
So do most municipalities have drones?
yes, the county has one as well.
Other cities?
Yes. Most organizations have one because there's so multitude of uses. Like I said, there's vendors who make entire livings off flying for small organizations who can't afford it. They're like the one that does the balloon.
So where did you derive at 41,000?
That was how much it cost to buy a specific model with the two different payload heads. DJI Matrice 350 RTK is the base drone model. It's about $13,000. Then we got a night vision camera thermal payload and then a LiDAR payload. And each of those are around 10 grand and some change. So altogether it comes out to be $44,000.
Is there a grant out there, maybe some of you safety people that might be tapped or something like that?
Most grants that we apply for exclude drones.
Excluded.
We're not gonna go the same way.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I guess because everybody wants one. They think you ought to be able to buy your own.
There's also the consideration that the federal government, who usually does these grants, doesn't like China, and they've manufactured most of them. So there is that as well.
We put that on the wish list. Start some wish.
Yeah, I don't think we can give you an answer today, Scott. You were asking before. I don't think we've got a clarity at this moment. That'd be an employee, a truck and the drone and some other things we've got there. Lifespan of this equipment, you got any idea how long it will last? When it will be outdated? IT technology and technology like that is replaced every 3 or 4 years. I know our cell phones, they always come up with a new model. How does that work?
Desktops usually have a 5-year lifespan, same for laptops. Tablets are 4 to 5 years. The drone, the main thing that it would need is new batteries. Batteries only have so many times you can charge and expend them. But one of the ways that we have talked about offsetting ongoing costs is making a requirement for developers to pay or provide their own LiDAR scans of before and after developments to ensure that they have graded properly and have built to spec properly. And we can add a fee to that and recoup most of the operating costs of the drone.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to see where do I start, the council start, who starts, with a better, streaming system for our meetings? Done?
Yes.
Okay, multiple cameras, switcher, that type of thing. I didn't know if I needed to put in a ticket, do we?
Any projects like that would go through Scott, and he would make his determinations and bring it to me, and we would start the process.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to another department? All right. Thank you, Kay. Appreciate the information. Police department, I think, Kay, I'll let you start with that. Go ahead.
Well, we have one right before that, general government, this is
Okay.
where,
Sorry, Jen.
this is where city hall employees and so forth are budgeted. The professional services line is kind of a catch-all for legal. The fees that we pay to, the Bedford County Property Assessor for, doing the audits or reappraisals. It's a lot of different things come out of there. It's increased a little bit because that's the line we pay, other attorneys out from Nashville out of that. So that's that big line. We were able to, on line item 143, we were able to lower that some this year because our defined benefit pension plan is so well funded. We're not having to pay as much going forward as we have been in the past. Everything else is pretty close to the same. We had to kind of guess on what our insurance will cost because I haven't seen that yet, but and you'll notice overall it went down, but that's mainly because a lot of our software and IT type stuff got moved and the retirement. So that's, y'all have any specific questions about that? Y'all salaries are in there?
Liquor paid to the county?
Right, there's a certain, the liquor by, let's say, I guess you call it, I was gonna say liquor by the drink.
Liquor license and things like that.
There's another word for it, I can't think, but anyway, we have to pay half of what we collect in the city at like these restaurants that sell, drinks. We have to pay half to the city, to the county.
Okay. All right, and we pay part of the, property assessment, is that what you said a while ago?
They have a 5-year plan, and so they usually bill us like 20,000 or so a year
Okay,
because, you know, they reappraise the property in the city also.
okay,
And there's also a formula that we pay, I think it's 22.5% or something like that of what we collect from, Shelbyville Power System. We have to pay that to the county. There's
okay.
some kind of agreement on that, or I don't know if it's a state law or a local, but that's an electric tax.
Questions? Folks?
While you bring up the liquor tax thing, I've been meaning to do it, and I'm remiss, apologize, bring it up now, but, I travel a lot, and there's a lot of locations, Nashville, Tennessee, Murfreesboro. If you buy a wine or liquor or whatever at a restaurant, sometimes the local liquor taxes are as much as the sales tax. I mean, it's not uncommon to see 10, 15, 20% in resorts for a liquor tax. There's gotta be a way in Tennessee that the city of Shelbyville is missing out on some revenues if we wanna go that route. I'd like to see at some point, maybe an investigation as to what is out there. I know it's not maybe the right spot here, but it's a revenue source that, I mean, it's huge in these, especially with tourism and stuff on the uptick. It's literally, I've seen it on the receipt several times, and I went, that's 10% on there twice. What in the world? And they say it's a local entertainment tax or whatever they call it, liquor tax, drink tax. Sometimes they break it down. 2 or 3% for the county, 2 or 3% for the city, and down the line. So the Bedford County ought to be looking at it too, I would think. I mean, at some point in time, you want to investigate that. It's not maybe it's this budget, but somewhere in the future, that would be a revenue source possibly we're missing out on.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Thank you. Councilman Calhoun. All right. Okay, I'll let you move us on.
Did you
Got something else?
Madam Treasurer, are you still on the government, the highlighted page?
Right.
Is that where we are?
Good point. I'm sorry. Yes, okay. So we have capital rollover. Sorry, I missed that page. Thank you, Marilyn. We had budgeted in the past and didn't get to it. The city hall roof and some city hall inside improvements. I'm really not sure why I put the ADA rec center restroom in our department. I'll be moving that later, but that's renovations outside the south end. I think just because it was ADA, but I really want to put that in the rec center. The other possible ADA project was $325,000 at the park complex, and then Scott might want to talk about the Riverview District and the flood pump purchase. Flood pumps, we thought we were going to pay 15% of those this year, but it doesn't seem that the drawings or whatever they call them are going to be approved this year. So I think all of it's going to be rolled to next year. So when I say flood pump purchase balance, it's really going to be $1,830,000 instead of that $1,555,000 next year, and it's going to be plus 1.225 or something million for the install. These are all estimates, but that's rolling. And then there's some personnel stuff, administrative assistant for city manager, city recorder, and then some other pay adjustments there. Scott, you may.
Any questions about that?
This is a technical question. When you roll over something like that, how does that show up in the fund balance? Say it goes from 24 to 25. make the fund balance go up for 24 and then back down for
Yes.
25?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I say rolling it, but
Yeah.
I don't like to have a lot of designated accounts. So I just let it all go into there and then just
Right.
reappropriate it.
And that's why, I guess, getting down the road, I know why the fund balance goes down so much next year is because we have rolled over a whole lot of these
A whole lot of prior
expenditures for
approved
this year's
projects,
budget
right?
that haven't been expended yet.
True.
It gives a little bit false look to the public sometimes. Oh, you spending all this money going future that you don't have. All this stuff that's been rolled over from previous budgets.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else?
On the city recorder for expansion of duties, other payroll adjustments, what does this entail for the expansion of duties?
It's just after being here this is my second budget cycle. And I've just seen the work being done up on the hill and by several individuals. And this is just a little pot of money that will help us adjust in accordance to the duties that they're performing right now.
Well, I know that, we have one person in that, treasurer's office and she does a phenomenal job and I've always said she had, Madam Treasurer had an assistant once upon a time, is that right?
I didn't, I think there was one in the past sometime. But they called it city accountant or something. That was before I was here.
Do you need additional?
I'm not asking for anything right now.
As we
Scott
discussed,
and I talked about it and I'm just not ready.
as we discussed last year, since I'm the old guy in the room, I think we still have fewer employees in City Hall today that I can count noses on than we had 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We used to have a full-time grant writer. We don't have that anymore. And I know we had 4 people in behind the desk. And we now got 2 or 3 behind the desk. We've still got 1 city treasurer, 1 city manager, 1 recorder. Maybe we put somebody in charge of HR, I guess it might be a little different. But the head count's basically the same. The population of the city from back then was 11,000 people, now to 25,000 plus. Now, sometimes we've got to get these people some help. And I agree. Going down, I think that's where you were going, maybe we'll stretch pretty thin. And I think from our audit, they want more separation of duties to have more employees to be responsible so that we don't wind up in a crisis if one person's out.
I don't think they wrote that up, but
I know they didn't write it up because we're not at that point.
Yeah.
But if one person goes down, somebody's got to be able to step up and do that.
Yeah, that is kind of scary for the recorder too. And, I mean, that position, yeah, I understand that, so, but yeah, I think we're maintaining and doing quite well with this huge population from, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. We're doing good, but yes, I believe in additional staff, getting the job covered.
Anyone else? Why do you think that's happened, Henry? You've been here a long time. Why do you think we have less than we had before? Is it because of increases in salary? Is it because of duties being changed? Or why do you think that is?
They certainly got more efficient in their job. We did, I don't know, other than being cheap, I guess, to some extent, you hate to hire a new head count. But things like, maybe I don't count, Kate's not walked out, but somebody like IT, we've been needing, we added that. But in the payroll administration and the collecting of the taxes and that kind of thing, which is obviously gone up. We haven't added any people, but I know other governments nearby us have a whole lot of increase in head count. We've had the increased fire department, police department, and these others. the administration sort of gets left in the back burner because, I don't know why, but, they haven't been screaming.
Appreciate those. Okay, all right. Any other questions? All right, Kay, lead us on.
Right, police department,
I'm glad she did that, Jan. I didn't want that to. I was gonna say.
as you know, we added, I think, 3 officers last year, is that right? Jim?
That's correct.
And we did a budget amendment to cover part of the year last year, and this year we'll be, budgeting them for the full year. Know a whole lot of specifics, their capital question there. I'm gonna let the expert talk. If Jan doesn't know what's going on now, he's never gonna, right, Jan?
I guess, I don't know. As far as our capital request, we normally do 6 vehicle replacement each year. That's factoring the service lives of the vehicles and manpower. We usually require 6 vehicles for an annual service life of 10 years. So we try to buy our vehicles and keep them 10 years. So what we'll do normally is to buy 6, which we've got in our budget. We'll surplus 3, and then we've got 3 new officers that's come on the grant. So that'll take those vehicles up, but we'll surplus at least 3. But we never know when we'll have a blown engine or a wreck or whatever, so we can't say which ones we're gonna get rid of. But we'll surplus normally what we get to keep it balanced. And then the other item was the phone system that Kay talked about. I think it was $20,000, and that was the price he gave us to put in the budget. Him and Major Merlot worked very closely together on all our IT stuff at the police department. So, but our phone system, we don't have a voicemail box for all of our officers. We used to years ago, but the system we got now is so expensive and outdated, actually, to get voicemail boxes set up. I mean, they charge like $1,500, something like that, to even come out. I mean, and so anyway, we can't afford to do that. So we were looking to maybe go to this system that the cemetery's going on, and which Ben says is really works well. And give all of our officers a voicemail box, because if they investigate something or whatever, people call in and want to talk with them, and that way we can give them a voicemail box and they can call them back and all that kind of stuff. So other than that, everything else is that's only capital stuff there we've got.
Mr. Chief, on your current phone system, I noticed that it goes through your non-emergency line. It goes through the animal control and numbers or information about that. And it's just me, but it seems like that message shouldn't be there.
When you call and you get a recording.
You get.
Well,
you're wanting animal control. I mean, maybe the prompts aren't that long, but it just, I don't know.
Yeah, if you press 1, you automatically go to dispatch.
Okay.
And then it's got other departments in there. If you want to punch another number, it'll send you to another department in the police department, another department there. But if you just press 1, it automatically goes to dispatch and dispatch answers.
So how long have you had this particular phone system?
Oh, the system, the phone system? 15 years, maybe. I'm not sure.
As I looked at the budgets going through, I've been studying them at night, we had actual for 22-23 about 5.4 million. And then we had an amended budget of 6.5 to 23-24, and then we had a 6.2 that's the estimated ending. The increase was vehicles and things like that, and department people.
Right. The grant.
That's what I figured.
Vehicles would be in the operating.
No, it's not in operating.
Yeah.
Vehicles aren't in the operating, we bought a lot of software one year, and I'm trying to remember what that was. There was 90,000 in that.
That was that was our body worn cameras.
Okay.
Body cameras, okay.
Okay, all right.
And then one of the items there, where it's 311 and 312, it shows a decrease of 51,195, and it increases on the other one over here. We had some money set aside last year to do electronic ticketing, e-ticketing, where if you stop someone, you can take their driver's license, it scans the barcode, populates your ticket and everything, and it's a more efficient and way of issuing the citations. But we had that money appropriated. We did not use it. The state came out with an e-ticketing program that's free, and it works in conjunction with our crash reporting system, Titan crash reporting system. So we didn't have to use that money, but we moved that money up in the computers and printers. And I guess it's actually what you call a rollover, because we didn't spend it last year. And we moved it in computers and printers, and we want to use that to buy mobile data terminals and all the mounting equipment to put into patrol cars. That money was already appropriated this year. We didn't want to roll it over into another line item for next year.
Anyone else have a question?
Are we doubling up on officers too per car?
No.
At all?
No,
Is there a reason for that?
you can't answer the calls doing that away. We're running 2,200 calls a month. We have to have one officer in the car now. We back each other up. We don't send one out by himself. But we don't back our officers up, but we got one to a car.
I'm often asked the question, considered constituents everywhere. When did it begin where the officers are driving the cars home?
Oh,
Wouldn't that require more?
20 years ago.
More wear and tear?
It doesn't really. 20 years ago, back in the 90s, that's when we started there. And nowadays, that's a, huh?
Not you were over 30 years ago. It hurts me to say
Oh, yeah. But it's a recruiting tool also. I mean, police departments, they work hard to try to get officers. You have to be creative in things that you do to recruit and retain officers. One thing is take on car. And the take on car, the officer has the car, has all of its equipment in it. The trunk is full of equipment. You got shotguns, rifles, you got iPads, you got all your emergency equipment, you got everything in there. The officer can respond quickly if we have an emergency. If we need to bring somebody in quickly, we can always call them. You got a vehicle there to bring yourself in, come in and work. As far as cost, it's not that much. I mean, you're only talking about some gas, 10, 12 miles, whatever, something like that, 15 miles. It's nominal. I mean, for what good you get out of it. I mean, an officer checks in, he's ready to go to, he call in on the radio and checks in, he's 10-8 ready to go. And then, if something happens at shift change, he can automatically go to that call and don't have to come in. And it's just a better way to operate things.
I was there when we made that decision.
That's a long time.
And if you were running that car on all the shifts, you were replacing that car every 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're getting 10 years.
Brakes every month.
So it was, it was constantly in maintenance.
Yeah.
Wow.
And literally,
That's why our
it was
cars
crazy the number of miles they put on it.
Yeah, that's why our cars last 10 years now.
Yeah.
And you equip it, and you put all the new equipment in it. In 10 years, the equipment's worn out, and the car's worn out.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I mean, if you come in and you get some, they don't last very long.
Most police cars do that now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I was just about about
So what are rookies going in? We don't have the old Crown Victorias anymore.
got rid of all
What
that.
do rookies start?
They'll take an older car once we get them out of the academy, but they won't be out of training until they go in July, I think. So it'll be October, November before they get out of training. We give by seniority is we give the newer cars and work them on down, and younger officers get the older units, but working well.
Good questions.
The-
Thank you, Chief. Good answer.
We're gonna, do y'all wanna run to the police equipment and police drug fund real quick? It's further on back, it's behind the special funds tab, which is behind the nonprofits. I don't know if y'all see it.
You're very back.
It's toward the back, it says special funds,
All
and
right.
it's page 4 of special funds. And this is the police equipment fund. This is where we have court fines that are designated to go to that. We're estimating 3,000. I don't want to speak for Jan, but they typically like to budget 20 or 25,000 in case something comes up they want to buy. Does that sound wrong?
Right, that's correct.
So I don't think we have anything particular in mind necessarily, but it's
No.
budgeted in case.
Right.
Because we had some budgeted last year, didn't spend it. And then the next page is the drug fund itself. This is fines or court-ordered forfeits, are the revenues, and then, we pay a lot, of expenses for the drug dog, and sometimes training for the officer and the drug dog. Every now and then you have maintenance on the vehicle that they drive, so.
Right.
Did I steal your thunder on
No,
that,
you
Jim?
did good.
Okay. I know he was looking forward to talking about
You
that.
did good.
That's two just special funds that you have to keep those monies separated.
Right.
Thank you, Kate, for that update. Anyone else have a question or anything for Chief
Control or not?
Phillips?
You wanna be there for animal control?
Yeah, we'll do animal control.
Let's do animal control since they're over that too.
Right.
Okay.
Flip on back, I don't know what page to tell you, but it's got a tab that says animal control. It's toward the back, I guess you'd say.
It's after stormwater.
Just like.
I was gonna do a complete numbering all the way through the book, but I kept adding pages and it was just messing everything up. So I ended up just numbering each section, so some year, maybe I'll figure out how to number this.
Okay.
You wanna say something?
Yes.
Scott, thank you, Scott.
If I may, I'll let your voice.
Thank you, thank you.
But animal control, again, is put together a really good budget, really conservative based budget. And one thing that was really impressive, number one, well, you all do know, because a lot of times you all call me when you get the numerous complaints. That they're wanting to increase a part-time intake into a full-time. And then they're wanting simply to get a used truck for 20,000 rather than 40,000, because again, it's animal control. You don't need the Cadillac vehicles to pick up stray dogs or whatever. So I just want to make that comment that they put together a very good budget and working with the chief, deputy chief, and of course the director out there.
Scott, we not have anything, all these other departments are getting all these new trucks, they don't have anything they can pass down to these people instead of us spending.
We're hoping so, Councilman, but as one of the departments that went earlier, one of the trucks that's being requested to be replaced is like a 2002 model. I mean, it's being held by duct tape and WD-40 keeping it on the road. But we always try to look at that, sir, and we'll try our best to utilize the existing fleet.
Anyone else?
Okay, so this part-time person is going to be moving into a full-time position. So that leaves them, short of personnel after that person moves up.
We don't have a part-time person now. We had a part-time kennel tech apply. They didn't pass the drug test. So we still haven't got a part-time kennel tech. So, we're looking to hire a full-time kennel tech. And if they can do that, then they can have a kennel tech and then 3 animal control officers on the road.
So you're not creating a new position.
You're not
You're
creating.
You're basically amending the position, I think.
I guess.
You're adding a half person.
Right,
I
you're
get-
expecting it from part-time.
Yeah.
Really?
Adding a half
But we didn't
person.
have one, but.
I was thinking the same, thing,
Okay.
but then there would be a part-time.
Yeah,
open.
okay,
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
that's what we're doing.
I'm mistaken.
With the,
We didn't have a person, so I just didn't think.
Gotcha.
with the kennel tech help cover the weekends and stuff.
I think so. Yeah, they rotate that around, doing the cleanest shelters on the weekends. They rotate that.
Any other questions? Oh. Any more? Okay, thank you, Chief
Thank you.
Phillips.
Appreciate
I was
it.
gonna let you know, my grandson's getting out of the 82nd Airborne Army, and he's joining the Tullahoma Police
Oh,
Department.
really?
He's going to the academy, I think, in 3-4 weeks, he'll go to the academy.
Congratulations.
He'll be chief one of these days.
That's all.
40 years. Okay, Kay, take us right on through, please.
All right, we got the fire department, let's see. As you know, we applied for a SAFER grant. We won't hear from that until the end of September. We did add, I believe, 3 last year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Matt, and we added 3 last year, but we're just keeping that at the same level till we hear from the SAFER grant. And I think everything else was pretty normal, if we can say that about the fire.
Are we still 3 short out at the north?
Yes, sir. We're one per shift short.
I don't think Matt had any capital this year, right?
No, ma'am.
What you up to, Matt?
You know he's got a plan of some sort.
He's getting his flood pump.
That's a bonus flood pumps.
It's always the Lord. Who's one, flood pumps.
Be glad when they're installed. You guys will go out there tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So everything's good in all locations, everything's good? Airport out there?
Yes, ma'am. As far as capital items or any large extra purchase like that, we're just, our O and M pretty much stays the same or has stayed the same, just with the increases in personnel and what equipment we have to swap around. But as far as vehicles and extrication tools and all those things, we're in pretty good shape for this year. So I'm proud not to have to ask for anything, except, I think fire department, all the little things that we ain't talking about. But, no, like I said, we're blessed for what we've got. Y'all been willing to support us on, and we didn't have the need. I guess if we need something this year, it'll be more. And I told y'all we've just come with needs. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Next, we have street department. I don't think Buck asked for anything either.
No,
That's a great intro.
I wonder what happened.
Streets, let's see. You could have mentioned 1 or 2 things.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
So streets, I'll just go mention a couple things. One is if y'all recall, last year we approved a 2-year, but correct me if I'm wrong, 2-year, state road maintenance contract with TDOT. And so we're planning to do all that paving next year. So that's why you see the 180,000 on line 268. We're putting all that for next year. And that's all. I'll let Buck take it from there. I don't see anything else that's unusual. A little shifting around, but I'll let you talk about that in transport.
Yeah, no, the state gave us the opportunity, we were basically spending about 100,000 of the state money, and that only goes for the state roads. Okay, so they said, well, we can give you 2 years to where you're able to use both years in 1 year. So we can do a little bit longer stretches, or if there's a bigger fix that we need to do on the state road because it's not within their repair cycle, then we can do it.
Still short on manpower?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
mean,
I think at the development meeting, right now, as far as where my levels are right now, I'm in the process of trying to hire six. I'm six down. I'm down two operators, truck driver, and three laborers. So we're still trying to do our same services that far down. And I think you could see as a reflection, with the budget this year that we're in, that, our wages are lower than what was projected to be. And a lot of that is just can't hire, having a hard time hiring people.
Hard working.
Yeah, and we're getting more competitive with wages, but we're not quite there yet, but we are getting more competitive.
Maybe I missed it, but, currently you have an amended budget. What was it, 851, and how did it go down to 688? Treasure.
Well, one thing was I think there was some cushion in there, but also, and that would have been just carried forward over the years, but it's also like he said, well, the 600,000 was more reasonable, but if he'd had been full-time staffed, he probably would have been about 750 or something.
That's correct.
But so many people were out. He's done a little bit of rearranging, I guess you would say.
Reorganization of the department.
What I was saying, I know you're down people, but you don't want a budget being down people.
What we're doing.
Full of time.
Yeah, I think once you see solid waste and everything else, Public Works is a unique animal. If it was just one budget line, I think you'd see that the wages are pretty close to the same. But looking at this one here, it looks like it's a bigger drop than what it is. We did have, in the reorganization, we've been trying to, the last couple of years, looking at hiring an assistant director. Before we eliminated the superintendent role after he unfortunately passed away. So I put somebody in a foreman role to work him through and see if he was going to be able to handle the superintendent role. I just didn't want to bring anybody in from outside the department. He has worked his way into that role. He is a huge asset to the city. So that's part of the reorganization. If you look at the salary, that has increased, and that takes away from what the hourly is. So
He moved up to that other line.
When I flip over to solid waste right quick, it's increased quite a bit by about almost what you decreased. So
yeah, and
moving on right.
part of that too, it was good when it was happening, but we used to get a lot of jail crew help. Okay, so when you get 8 jail crew to come in, you start not hiring full-time and everything else. We don't get any jail crew now. So the biggest increase that you see in solid waste is for laborers to try to take the place of those 8 jail crew that used to be there every day. That's also an elimination of our prisoner transport. We'll eliminate that job title because, to me, I don't want to count on jail labor. I think we ought to, it's more responsible to the city to get the employees that we know that we need. If we are able to get jail crew down the road, to me, that's icing on the cake, but we get to bake the cake first. So that's why I'm trying to get the levels of our employees up.
You don't have a perception set there already?
No, sir, I am an office manager, and that is probably the other part of the reorganization. With the money that was going to be spent to hire an assistant director, I want to move my office manager into a more managerial role, assistant to the director, to where she'll be able to work side by side with me and not have to answer the phones, be able to take off some of the stress of the paperwork and everything else that the assistant director was going to do. And I think it's good. I think it's good training for the future. Trying to, if something were to happen to me, that the organization could still run. It's the backup plan.
Good idea. Any other questions? Now, some of this equipment, it looks like it's not necessarily needed right now, Snowplow, is that needed right now?
Not at the moment, sir.
I mean, we know, we had one snow this last year. How many snowplows do we have
Well, we got three
that operate?
that operate, yeah, 1.5 probably is what we went through. You know, when you only run them once a year,
Yes, sir.
you don't find the problems until you try to run them. They work good when you put them up, and then when you try to run them, of course, you have issues. I thought I had it in there. I know it's taken out of there. You know, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but of the people here in Tennessee, I probably have more snow plowing experience myself than my crew put together. And that's just from being from the north. So that vehicle was to be my vehicle to where I could go and come behind them and try to help them keep up during a snowstorm. So, and maybe do some training, you know, more individual training with some of the others to where they would. For 10. Yeah.
Snowplow, do they?
No, a that I'm very proud of. We did not miss one day of trash. The guys picked up trash every day of that full week that City Hall was closed and basically everything else in town was closed.
Yeah.
If we would have went one more day, we would have been in trouble. But we had enough capacity out there between our trucks, our trailers, and everything that you guys have allowed us to buy to be able to do that week and keep things moving.
That's pretty tricky, as cold as it was too, and that ice on the road. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You go hire a stick man to help her.
What's that?
You go hire a stick man to help her.
Well, that was part of the plan. Right now, you know, my mechanics, they're coming through, they're doing good, they're getting certified. This is first time that in the city we have certified mechanics. We've been taking care of, you know, pretty much, I think every department has brought their vehicles at one time or another to us for us to take care of. Before, we wasn't doing that. And I know Chief probably thinks his budget went up a little bit with the repairs, but when our guys go through our equipment, if there's something else wrong, we fix it. We take care of it right then. You know, that's part of the preventative maintenance of taking care of a piece of equipment. I think before, when they went to get an oil change, they just got an oil change. You know, there's other things on there, and our guys are very thorough, and I think they're doing a good job.
Saving us thousands on big trips.
If you guys want to put in the 1.4 million for the tub grinder, I'm all right with that too. That was a discussion Kay and I had. There's a new line item on the solid waste. You'll see $90,000 that wasn't there before. That is to have a professional service come in and grind 3 to 4 times a year. So when the state came down and said we can no longer burn branches that have leaves on it unless they were from the burn pit, we had to try to find another way to do this. So we brought in some professional service, got some prices, and we also got the price on the piece of equipment if that's the way that you guys wanted to go too. I didn't think you would approve the 1.4 million, so we put in the 90.
He's trying to kind of steer you toward that 90.
The 90 is important for all of us.
One thing we might want to mention, Buck, the landfill services, I think our tipping fee, I don't know if they call it a tipping fee, but per ton is going up 3%, but I think Buck said it may be going up dramatically more the next year.
Yes, we are through the ISWA, we are in the last year of our contract. We are seeing gate fees for other areas that people are dealing with, double of what we're paying now. So we budget, I believe, 415,000 in that K. If that happens, that's going to be coming. We'll be spending 800,000 to get rid of the trash that we take in, and so that won't be an increase other than a fee that is being charged to us for the service that they provide.
That's Marshall County. Or, you know?
Lewisburg. We go Lewisburg, but
That's Marshall County.
is that Marshall?
Yeah.
You know better than I, Mary.
I served 15 counties.
I know how to get around. I know how to get around the city. I'm pretty good at that.
I thought that's where it went. And your contract, you just got 1 year contract on it. Did you see a renewal? Have they got a problem with their landfill over there or something?
We are attempting to, we can extend it up to 5 years. We are attempting to do that. But with who we're through right now, with the prices and with the things that's going on in Murfreesboro and everything, we're not optimistic.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions?
I have a question about the budget, but yeah, but when people, you know how we have to clean up and they miss it, and they set stuff outside the street, what's the protocol? I mean, I guess I'm asking the price and all that stuff.
First, they'll be contacted by our sanitation officer. He will give them not, I call it a ticket, but it's basically saying, hey, you need to get rid of this. And here's what we provide as a city. Okay, so if it's, say like it's something that can fit in the back of 1 ton that doesn't have, that's not biohazardous to the guys, that's something, that's $25 right now. If it's something that has to go in the back of a brush truck, that's $50. Now, businesses and everything, they pay the price that anybody would pay that would go up to the burn pit to get rid of something, and that's $8.50 per cubic yard.
What do we not pick up? Things like mattresses, sofas, what?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests. People have some infested mattresses and everything. We prefer that they're put in bags. If they're not put in bags, we don't pick them up. If they want to take them to the burn pit and place them in the dumpster themselves, I believe we don't turn that down. So, we don't take, obviously don't take shingles. That would add so much weight to those that we'd be paying way more than what we do. That service that we provide at the burn pit is not anything that we even break even on. I think that service was started years and years ago to try to keep the city clean, and have them take it up there for a cheap rate. $8.50 does not even come close to covering what that rate should be. That rate should be about 20 to 25.
Mr. Hale's point, it seems like it's furniture related stuff that I see sitting out beside the house.
Furniture related, to avoid injuries and everything, we like to bring our brush truck out and pick it up with that, so we charge that fee for that.
Who pays for, like say, when you shell a house and take somebody out and stuff is anywhere? Who, I guess what I'm asking, you pick that up, y'all, who pays for that?
The housing department, we bill them monthly for anything that they bring up. If they call us for that type of stuff, we keep track of that and we send a monthly bill.
Just curious.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys all know Rachel Hart. Stand up, Rachel. She's the office manager out there. She's the one that she knows the office, everything that goes in there. So every person that is called and everything, she's done an amazing job. And that's where I was talking about the reorganization. She keeps me on track. There's a lot of times that I get pulled out into the field. It's a lot of times. I think I probably spend an hour and a half to 2 hours at the office and the rest in the field.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we need to go solid.
At some point, we'll need direction on the capital projects, capital requests and stuff, but, are y'all wanting to wait till later on that as far as in streets? Of course, y'all have already talked about snow plows.
Question on the site loader for the garbage, I guess, or for solid waste. It probably takes 2 years to get one of those.
I
start buying sooner than later.
Yeah, last year, if you remember, I requested one, and at that time it was 2 years. We're now looking 12 to 24, so they are getting a little bit of inventory. I mean, we still haven't got our tractor, our transfer tractor, road tractor, that we ordered 2 years ago.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We've already had to pay an up price and move it up a year.
Yeah, so we've been, which hampers us because I bite my lip because I had to put 7,000 into the truck that we would have already gotten rid of if that would have been delivered. So We, you know, the longer it takes for that stuff to come in, everything just starts to break down. Garbage trucks, they are worked to death. And I hope to, once we get to a level, I want to get to a level to where we're refurbishing trucks instead of buying new all the time, and at least try that to save a little money. 400,000 for a garbage truck, it's crazy. When I first got here, it was 250,000. So in 5 years, from 250,000 to $400,000.
One way to do it may be to put 200 in this year, 200 next year. It's gonna take that timeline rather than have 1 year hit 400,000.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think that would, well, yeah, I agree.
At least, a road tractor not an option. That's something we can't do.
Really, with what, you know, the city kind of tried some of that in the past, and when you lease the road tractors, they come in as road tractors. They're not set up to go through the dump. Going through the dump, you need a truck that sets up a little bit higher and everything else. All the trucks that we're getting rid of were bought used and everything, but they're true road tractors. So the rocks and everything else is tearing up the underneath and everything. You get stuck up there. They don't even have locking differential on them. So the trucks that we have went through, and this will be the end of that fleet. We'll have turned over that fleet. We'll still have one for like lowboy and stuff like that, but we'll have trucks that were actually built to go in and out of landfills. If you get something else, you're paying for bumpers, you're paying for everything that gets tore off underneath.
Anything else?
Snow plows. We really have one big event this year.
Yes.
We normally don't get that.
No. You know, it's one of those things, if you never prepare for it, and it happens, then you're in trouble. If you prepare for it, it never happens, it's a good thing. It's a snowplow that goes on a pickup. It's not like it's a snowplow that is a big dump or anything else like that. It's not a northern, what I would call a typical snowplow. It's just a plow that goes out in front of a pickup that helps me help the guys be able to complete their work when we're out there trying to make the city safe. But I don't believe that was one that got approved in my,
It's not
yeah.
highlighted.
So it's not highlighted.
But in clarification, most of that is truck costs, not snowplow costs.
Absolutely.
Looking at $70,000, that's not a $70,000 snowplow.
No, between 5 and 15,000, depending on the type of plow that you get. So
Just a snowplow.
yeah.
We got stormwater.
One thing in stormwater, I think we're trying to be a little bit more proactive on some of the areas. You know, the age of the infrastructure in Shelbyville is pretty old. A lot of the pipe that crosses the roads and everything else is metal pipe. So you get about 30 years on metal pipe, it's all rusted out and it's no good. I'm trying to create an inventory of our pipe and everything else so we can react better whenever we have one of these fail. We did buy pipe for Davis Lane, Brown Lane, and Baker Street. So we got projects. It's just too wet for us to do those projects. Trying to build up the street crew, which would do the stormwater work over there as far as the operating and everything else. Trying to get the operators and everything that I need so we can get more of these infrastructure projects done and not have to go out and have somebody else come in and do them.
Right. And then if you skip on over toward the back, it says state road projects. The tab is toward the bottom. This is the fund that we budget, the Fairfield Pike project, the river overlook, our match for the SIA road, traffic signals, the I can't think of what you call it, but the Madison Street sidewalk project, it has an initial.
Multimodal.
Thank you. not one more time. Deary Street CDBG project, and we're gonna, I think, start purchasing right of ways for Fairfield. So this is the fund, we did that in. At the bottom, I show, some of those are grants, so they're either 80, 20, 90, 10, or whatever, that's shown at the bottom, so. I think we're rolling over the traffic signals, right?
Yeah,
I put that in next year.
the traffic signal, this one out here, the power company has ran into a few issues. They gotta get the foundation spec to be able to do the foundation and feel comfortable doing it. So they thought they would be able to utilize a normal foundation and found out that they can't. So the delay on that is just crossing T's and dotting I's type thing. The 437 Fairfield, we are, if all the items come in, when they should come in, we should be able to have that traffic signal up and working before the beginning of school. That is not a promise. That is, that is what our goal is. The other goal, if the paving is approved and everything, the paving budget, the other goal is to pave Fairfield from 437 to where Fairfield turns to Dairy. It's actually Fairfield to Fairfield. I don't know why that road is named Fairfield, but so we want to have all that done before school gets in, so it's new road for the buses and everything else that might be traveling down through that. As a road overall, it's probably, 65%. It was one that I'd probably let go another year, but with the increased traffic and the safety, as the road gets older, it loses its friction. You have a lot of friction loss. So if it's raining and everything else like that, people hit their brakes, they slide a little bit further than what they used to. So to me, with the school being out there and that being new to everybody, I think it's in the best interest that we make that road as safe as what we can.
Very good.
I got a
A
question
lot of
on,
calls on Fairfield Pike.
on the red lights, the one at the Gateway Church on Madison Street, sits there and flashes all the time. I've asked this question years ago. Is there a place that we can reutilize those light heads and arms? Or are they so obsolete we can't touch it?
Pretty much everything that we have up, and talking with Jarrett, Scott, he was there, everything that we have is pretty much obsolete. Everything's going LED, even the controllers and everything else, there's gonna be, big expenses that are gonna come with the new controllers and stuff for the traffic signals. That's part of the reason why the traffic signal at 437's been delayed. It was all set up when it was built to become a full traffic signal, but it's obsolete now, so we have to get all the new, everything used to run off cable, now it's Ethernet cord and everything else like that, so that all has to be rerun, and then the control modules and everything all have to be different. So even as simple as the street lights, those, the yellow glow ones, those are obsolete. As those go out, there'll be LED, you probably see it when you drive around, there's one brighter one, and then there's that warm glow, they call it, yellow that's out there. So those will be eliminated. I would like to get rid of the light at Thompson and Depot. That one is our oldest one, and I've tried and tried and tried with the traffic signal TSMP grant. And they only give you so much, and 50,000 don't cover that. You're to totally upgrade that, you're probably, I think the last time we looked was 250,000. So it's nothing's cheap. The only thing that I would say, and I don't know if it's in this one, does this one have my paving in it?
That's the State Street aid, the next one.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Yep. But State Street aid, we can just go there now. It's, a couple, 3 tabs over. State Street aid. Yeah. This has the street lighting that we paid the power system and, paving and salt for the roads. That's pretty much the only thing in this fund.
One of the things, if you look in here, it's a paving increase from 600,000 to 700,000. I think some of you that have drove around and seen the new roads that are paved and stuff, that 600,000 worth of paving. So 600,000 doesn't get you very far. And I just want to remind everybody of the study that was done. To maintain what we had already, we needed 1.2. Last year we did 600,000. This year we're doing 700,000. So I've gotten emails from you, Mayor, from constituents, and I've talked to others that people are really unhappy with the roads. Basically, I got enough to fill potholes. You know, when it comes to it, when you're going out and you're trying to get the roads up to a standard, until every year that we don't put the 1.2 in there, it becomes 1.3, 1.4 of what you need to be able to get the roads up to the standard. So I appreciate the 700,000 being in there. It's an increase that helps me get maybe one more road, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knew it's nowhere near enough.
Let me just piggyback on that. If the council decides they want to put more money in that, the state gasoline tax is not gonna fund the 1.2. So we would need to start doing transfers from general fund or something like that to get money over there, because so far, well, I don't know if it's been every year, but since I've been back, you know, you just relied on the state gasoline tax, and that's not gonna get up to the 1.2. So this fund would need to be supplemented by a transfer from general fund like we do to state road projects and those type things. You have to have a new revenue source. What I'm saying.
Asphalt cost is still going up each year and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you go to the gas station and see your gas price go up, you might as well figure that asphalt is. Asphalt is a byproduct of the petroleum process, so.
Look, I have asked a couple of years ago, you were working on a rotation map of the streets that you generate to be worked on, paved, what have you.
Yeah, that study that they turned in, what was it, a year or two ago, had all the ones that were in there. So did you want me to pull from that? What I was gonna, some of these, you know, I can give a list in January that might be different in March, just because of the needs and the road deterioration. I would hate to give a list out there and be tied completely to that list. I try to make it broad enough to where there's some flexibility to go to other places, but I try to hit the biggest places of needs first, and if there's any side streets that come off it that we can take care of while we're there, I try to do that. And I try to make sure that I hit every quadrant of the city as much as I can, but there's some roads that are worse than others, and the ones that have the more traffic, I have to put more attention in on.
Yeah.
But I can.
Please send something.
Yeah, I can send you something. Now, just because that list, you know, depends on where the dollars fall, it doesn't mean I'm gonna do that whole list, but that's the list that I'm looking at. I can give you that.
Could you explain why Blue Ribbon Parkway was just recently done?
Yeah, it was failing. It was failing at every intersection. There was water that was holding in there. If we would not have fixed that, it would have only deteriorated faster and quicker, and a bigger fix would have had to be done. If you looked at, I don't know if you drove, yeah, you drove that quite a bit. Every intersection was all bold. And when you get that, that's a spot where the water is not able to drain. So if you repair that before it gets too bad, I don't have to dig up the sub base, the base, and all that material. I can fix that right then and there and protect that road for 10 more years.
And around the corner is Smith Drive, and I've got a lot of complaints there too.
I do too, and I want to get to Amos Smith Drive.
Okay.
My thing is, you know, I worry about not hitting every quadrant. So I did Blue Ribbon and I did Eagle and everything. If I did Michael and I did Anna and I did Clara. If I went over and did Amos Smith Road, I didn't want anybody to say, why didn't you do West Jackson? Or why didn't you come over here and do that? It makes sense to do it. I agree. It's in my list, and if we were fully funded, I guarantee you it would have been done this year.
The Public Works is doing a good job along with their fire department and everybody else. The roads are just, with all the traffic we have, it's wearing everything out. And you can go into any city. I was in Nashville last night, and I mean, they've got problems too.
Yeah.
Big problems with all the traffic they've got. We've got traffic in Shelbyville now on these main roads. I'm gonna ask you, everybody here, just for a moment, Scott and I just discussed it. Someone had said, I think we were talking about 2 hours for this meeting. We do have other meetings set up. Next Wednesday is the next one at 12 noon. Do you want to cease this meeting today, and then we'll continue on Wednesday at 12 noon? I know some of the folks that have come to make presentations today, that may not work for you, but what does everybody think? What votes do you have? Continue or let's?
Why don't we ask the department heads that hadn't been up?
And then too,
Everybody just stayed the same to be here.
Yeah.
well, the libraries here,
Yeah.
senior citizens.
Senior
I don't
citizens,
think
so-
that's gonna take very long, will it? Or, I don't know. You do, can we do them?
Yes,
We
please.
shift that around a little
Yes.
bit. Yeah.
If they'll wait my late fees.
Thank you, Ms. Valerie. We didn't need to.
Yeah, K-pop
Thank you, I
has
appreciate
paid
it.
late fees at the library, double
You
that.
can wait those, yes.
Yeah, and other inputs, it's not too too.
Don't tell them the time.
Paul and you folks, is it all right if we go until next Wednesday, okay?
Yeah, let's do the nonprofit.
Let's go ahead and let, the ladies, the Senior Citizen Center and the library make their presentations, today, and then we will take everything else and take it to next Wednesday. Does that sound all right to everybody?
Sound good.
All right.
Let me just,
How about you? What? Yeah, you okay?
let me just remind everybody that the
Ben, are you all right? Okay, all right. Well, let's have the Senior Citizen Center first, if you don't mind, Miss Sonia, I'm sorry.
Patty wants to introduce.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, in the back pocket of the notebook are their requests, and I also gave you a sheet today
Right.
that looks like this, that shows current appropriation and request.
Okay.
So, this is Sonia, you're still Sonia.
Still Sonia.
She's still
Hi,
Sonia.
how are you?
I'd like to say before Sonia sit down, Mayor, she came in with a gigantic pocketbook, but we don't know how much money she's asking. Police chief, can you tell us?
Does anybody need a drink?
So we can see how much.
Scott wants to know if anybody needs a drink. Not that kind, not that kind. Say, why don't you?
Thank you folks for coming. See you folks.
So just,
Not you, Scott, or you?
wait on him or go?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Sonia with the, Senior Citizen Center, this year's allocation is 16,000, I think their next year request is 17,000.
All right. Sonia, I read your letter and, the letter that Kay had sent to us. Looks like, from everything that you've asked for, does anyone have a question on it? Everybody had a copy of that in our budget, binder. Does anyone have any questions for Sonia about, and the great work she does at Senior City? I think we're replacing the HVAC unit also out there. We talked about that the other night, okay.
I sit on that board with the senior citizens.
Right, you had, okay.
She is an awesome board, she is an awesome director, but unfortunately, there's been some downfalls on my ride. There's been some changes to where she broke her remarks, this last meeting where her hours may be cut, she may have a decrease in salary and such. It is a lot, that is a beautiful center that is open and does wonderful things with our seniors, with activities, meals, that type of thing, trying to figure out a great fundraiser and such. 16,000, is just, it's no money. with all of the operation
Right.
that goes there and the necessary maintenance of, employees and such. And I actually, my heart goes out to the senior citizens board and center and facility. 60,000 is nothing, and I, this is me personally, look, I look to raise that to 20,000. I think that's very fair, that's still on a very low side of funding.
Well, from you tell from the letter, of course, I knew already all of the different things that they do, and they do a great,
Yes.
great job out there. Hadn't asked for an increase in 18 years.
I got a second over here.
Hey, you don't hear that from, sure.
We
no.
tried to.
Councilmember Bellhouse is in favor of that one.
That is,
Neither am I.
Right there.
yeah. Sonia, do you have anything that you need to tell us? I mean, I noticed about the matching funds and things like that when I read the letter and all those kind of things. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us? Are you members or with the COVID situation over and all, are you getting more people back? And
Finally starting to struggle, they're coming in, but we lost a lot of people for COVID, and it did impact what we do.
Okay.
But we're still serving the meals every day, we're still doing the home delivered meals out of there, we still have the transportation out of there for now. That could change in the near future, we're just not sure. But we try to make do with what we have.
good.
We've applied for, of course, that's a city building, and we've applied for grants for the last 2 years through the state for $8,000 and for building improvements, and we've gotten those grants for the last 2 years. So we've removed some very old border that people like to tell us looks like an old people's place. So that is down now, and some fresh paint on some walls. And hopefully they're gonna do that again this year. We'll reapply again this year for the same, just to try to make it fresh and new looking, so people come and enjoy.
Very good. And those grants taking care of our the city's building. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I know that y'all done some work on the front of it a few years ago.
Got
Yeah.
some new doors put
Yeah,
in.
good, very good, very good.
What's your
Anybody have any
definition of a
questions?
senior citizen?
Pardon?
What is your definition of a senior citizen?
Me.
You
You can join at 50 to take advantage of the federally funded programs. You do have to be 60, so the meal program. But you can still eat, you just have to pay a little bit more.
Okay.
Weird.
The transportation thing you're talking about, is that provided by South Central Tennessee Development District?
It is.
Okay, is there a problem with that? Drivers, just trying to find drivers? and
Trying to find drivers. If y'all know anybody looking for a job, we're
I
we're
thought
looking
that
to
there was,
hire.
yeah.
Hard to find drivers everywhere. Yes.
It's a problem.
It is a problem. But yeah, so just for those of you that don't know, because we do run the public transportation out of the senior center, they pay a portion of my salary.
Okay.
So my salary is not 100% funded through the center. I literally have to keep up with what I do all day long, back and forth. And however much time I spend with each program, that's how they pay me, what percentage.
I've kind of got an education the last 16, 17 months being with the South Central Tennessee Development District on their executive board about how that transportation and all those kind of things work. Any other questions for Ms. Sonia Miller? Sonia Miller, right?
Sonia Miller.
Does any of the money we give get to be a match for state funds? So if we gave more, you get more?
Well, we are required to do state matches and federal matches. So yes, some of that will.
So if we give you $20,000 instead of 16, can that extra 4,000, 4,000 you're asking for turn into a whole lot more?
Probably not. I haven't seen an increase in state and federal funds in years. I'm sorry. Yes, it might, yes. Triple, you never know. I misspoke.
All right. Anyone else have any comments or questions for Ms. Miller? We appreciate the job you do.
Thank y'all. Appreciate your job.
Thank you for being here. Your patience waiting on. Okay?
Yes, the library. We need to all speak softly.
Oh, no, it ain't that. Randy does better than that.
Margaret Teddy. Margaret Teddy. Her request is in the back folder also, and, this year, currently they're getting 149,829, and they're requesting 164,812. And Margaret knows a lot more than I do about what the details out there.
Well, as you all know, our community is growing. And, with the last census, the library became a level 5 library. Now that puts us in the same guidelines as Murfreesboro and Nashville and Memphis and Knoxville. Now, we're not that big, but because we're the only library in our county and city, our community, that's where we're at. So right now, we are, according to the Tennessee standards for libraries, we are supposed to be at 15 employees. We are at the bare minimum. We're open 60 hours a week. We increased that when we reopened after COVID because we knew this was coming. And because of that, we are trying to, of course, I've been there for 28 years, but I've only been the director for about a year. But I've seen it grow, and we are currently when they gave me the position, we switched around some things. And instead of, we did have 5 full-time and 4 part-time. We increased the full-time and decreased the part-time to 6 full-time and 3 part-time, so that we'd have some more hours. And honestly, one of our part-time ones at that time was the children's librarian. And I honestly don't know how she did that job on 30 hours a week, because I've done that job at 40 hours and was not able to get it done in 40. So we increased her back to 40 hours. We've got a really great team right now. They're all about community. They'll get out and do things and go. So we've got a good group that is community minded and all. We've got a great board that supports us. So we're in need of increasing not only staff, but we need to be open now on Sundays again. It's been many, many years since we were open on Sundays, but we are needing to do that. People are asking. But at the staff we've got right now, we can't. And not only that, but we're paying our staff about $4 less than McDonald's, our part-time staff. We're paying our part-time staff, we just raised them from $11 to $11.25 last year. And even our full-time staff, my assistant director he makes a little less than $13 an hour, and he has a bachelor's degree. We just had one of our young ladies finished I think she graduated on May 8th with her Master in Library Information Science degree, and we are paying her about $12.02 an hour. So we're not going to keep her if we don't increase it, and she's excellent. She does our tech and our marketing. I've watched her grow up because she was one of my library kids, but we're not going to be able to keep this good team if we aren't able to even at least slowly increase their pay and let them know that we do appreciate them. So, and of course, with the more people in the community, we're growing. I mean, and most of our books, I think I had sent an email out, but most of our checkouts the last year was city. 69% of our checkouts were from city patrons, and patrons that we have in our system, 60% of those are city. So, most of our people are from right here in the heart of our town. So we want to do better for them. We all know working at the library, we're not going to get rich. I mean, I wouldn't have stayed there 27 years thinking I was going to get rich, but we all love our jobs and we love the people. Yeah. And that is important to us. And we're trying to get out in the community and be at more places. We've got our bookmobile goes to like Juneteenth and We're trying to work to where we can have enough people to maybe go to like the Bell Buckle Craft Fair and just get people in the community, whether it's in town or county, to know that we're here and we're still very viable. So that's our goal.
I know when I was on the library board a couple years ago, you just stated it, that obviously the majority of people that are using the library are within the city,
Right.
but it is evolving into more of a computer center, computer lab,
It is.
Wi-Fi, sitting in the parking lot on the weekends, because I go by there on the weekends.
Right.
People applying for jobs and I guess, I don't want to say the poorest of the poor, but people who don't have access to
Right.
internet, and that kind of thing, which primarily seem to be in the city.
Yes.
Come to there for their internet access
Exactly.
to try
And
to help
if you'll
themselves.
notice when you drive by now, we have a little umbrella with a seat sitting out there. We got that through the TOP grant last year, and it is a solar charging station. So anytime people can come by, it stays about 98% charged through the night. So they can come by anytime and sit outside, and charge their devices, use their devices, whatever. But that has been a big, my husband works for Shelbyville Power, and a lot of times when he's on call, he'll get called in the middle of the night. And almost every time he tells me someone's sitting at their table. So it's being used, and we're growing. Yes, we're not growing specifically with books, but libraries overall are not books anymore. Yes, we still have them, and they're still important. But we have a lot of other things. We're starting a quilting class next week. And amazingly, we had 3 people sign up in the first 30 minutes of it being online.
Really?
So we are at capacity now. But things like that, libraries now are offering not just checking out books, but also library of things. And we're looking into that, which that's things like cake pans or, 4 extra chairs if you're having a couple of people over for dinner, or things like that. I mean, Tullahoma, we did a tour of a couple of libraries a couple of weeks ago, and that is a big, big thing now, is that they're not just checking out books, they're checking out items that you might not want to pay for if you're only going to use them once or twice. So that is definitely on our list of to-dos.
Another thing that impressed me on the statistics that from the past is that our library has almost as many people coming through the door and being serviced as our rec center.
Yes.
Which we know costs a ton to build.
We've had people just look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that we have sometimes 200 to 300 people a day. And they're like, a day? I'm like, yes. Would you like to see our counts? So it is definitely being used. People that don't come in or don't have the need to may not realize it, but we are busy. We're very busy. And of course, this is middle of summer. We just started summer reading 2 days ago. So we're hopping.
I say all that, so that I'd like to say that I support the 164,000 that you're also asking from the county, because they have been funding that.
Yes.
The last several years. And we have kept it at 149,000 now for several years. We obviously all know inflation and that kind of thing, that for the $15,000 difference there, I think we need to step
I
up.
requested 10% from both sides, just because we need to meet some standards there. And we don't want to be we don't want to say we want, $1 million, because we might need it or we might want it, but we're trying to be sensible.
I'm on her board too, and she's a great director, and she hasn't been in that position very long.
No, it'll be a year officially in October.
Yeah.
I took over as interim in July.
Yes, but I knew that you had been around for all of those years.
Yes.
And things do evolve, and,
I have now held every position the library has to offer except for janitor. And I've cleaned up many things that a janitor would do. So that other duties as assigned.
a wonderful, wonderful thing to have in your community. We've got a great one, and so we appreciate that. Any other questions for Margaret? All right, Margaret, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
We appreciate all you all do for our community as well.
All right, for the rest of the audience today, let us put the rest of our budget review off until next Wednesday at noon. Is that correct, Scott? Is that what we've got scheduled? Is that okay with everybody? I think he had given us those dates ahead of time.
Let me just, butt in one second. I have, Lisa and I have a deadline that we have,
Go ahead.
Lisa and I have a deadline that we have to get a proposed budget in the newspaper for
Okay.
next Wednesday. So I've got those numbers ready, but I was gonna add more to it if y'all told me what to do about, but we haven't really gotten into specifics
Right.
about raises and these type things, so I may just put in what I have, or just
put in what you have, okay.
without any,
That's the
okay.
best thing to do.
I think I'll just put in what I have.
Yes.
So if y'all see that in the paper, that doesn't mean
Right.
doesn't mean you have to do that.
Right.
Just meet the
I
law.
just have to, because the law says you don't have to run it again if you change the numbers, you just have to have it in there.
Just have to have it in there.
15 days before.
Your ad's 10 days, I've already
Okay.
done mine,
Okay.
mine was 15.
So I'm just gonna go with what I have, but just keep in mind, that's nothing that you have to
These
stick
are all yours
with.
you've taken out, right?
Were you jumping through it?
Announcement, Mr.
I'll
Mayor.
keep- Thank you.
Hey,
Till we get through.
Mr. Mayor, I have an announcement.
Okay.
There was a gentleman that stuck his head in the door earlier. He was from News Channel 2. I had to go out and check on Mom on my little break, and he was still there. He chose not to stay, but he wanted a statement concerning our legislation, our ordinance on the camping overnight on properties and that type of thing. So I made a very brief statement to him, so not to be alarmed if you happen to see that at Channel 4 at 4, Channel 2 at 4 today. So I wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, Scott had called me about that, and I gave Mark McGee some comments for the newspaper, and then I asked Scott if that would be our statement to Channel 2 News, if that would be appropriate, but I had some information that I sent to Mark McGee the other day, and you passed that on to this gentleman. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you should.
Okay, we're good. Let's adjourn till next Wednesday, whenever.
There's still, if you